Adult cyberbullying is something that affects millions of people, but it's often kind of brushed aside or just misunderstood. In this explainer, we're not just going to talk about what the problem is. We're giving you a clearer, actionable plan from what to do in the moment to how to defend yourself in the long run.
Yeah, it's a pretty jarring question, right? But it gets right to the heart of what we're talking about. I mean, the tactics have definitely changed since the schoolyard, but that intent to harm, it's still there. And the digital world gives harassers this relentless 24/7 access to their targets.
Okay, so first things first, let's get a really clear definition. It's super important to get this. We're talking about something way beyond just a heated argument you might see in a comment section. This is different.
Okay, look at the keywords here. Unwanted, aggressive, and repeated. This isn't a one-off thing. It's a pattern of behavior, a targeted campaign that's specifically designed to cause distress. It is a deliberate act, not just some disagreement that got out of hand.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it can be anything from relentless, hostile messages to someone creating a fake profile of you to ruin your reputation. And then there are things like coordinated spam attacks. Doxing, where your private info is just blasted all over the internet, is incredibly dangerous. And you gotta know, these actions often cross a serious legal line into what's known as cyberstalking.
Okay, so let's get real about the consequences here. Because the harm, it's not just pixels on a screen. It's deeply personal and it's psychological. A lot of times it starts with this constant feeling of being on edge, that pit in your stomach you feel before you even look at your phone. And that feeling, it can spiral fast into real sadness, a total loss of interest in the things you used to love.
And it all builds up to this genuine fear for your own safety, a fear that just bleeds from your online life right into your physical one. So why is it so damaging? Well, it's the 24/7 nature of the internet, right? There's just no escape. This constant, persistent stress can completely wreck your sleep, it can shatter your self-esteem, and it can cause huge problems in your work life and your social life. Basically, it just chips away at your sense of safety in the world.
Okay, so what do you actually do if this is happening to you or to someone you know? I know it can feel completely paralyzing, but listen, you are not powerless. Here's an immediate, actionable plan to take back control.
All right, here's your 4-step game plan for right now. Step 1, and this is huge, document everything. Don't you dare delete a thing. Screenshot every post, every message, every URL. This is your evidence. Step 2, get support. Talk to people you trust. Please don't go through this alone. Step 3, block. Use every tool on every platform to cut off their access to you. And finally, step 4, report. Report the behavior to the platform, and if it involves any kind of threats or stalking, report it to law enforcement.
So those immediate actions are absolutely crucial. But what about the long game? That's where building digital resilience comes in. Let's dig into how you can protect yourself proactively.
I want you to think of these 4 habits like you're building a digital immune system. Strong, unique passwords and 2-factor authentication, that's your front door lock. Being really careful about what personal details you share online, that makes you a much harder target. Acting fast to block harassers stops things from escalating. And maybe most importantly, setting boundaries, like actually scheduling time to be offline, is just so crucial for your mental health.
Okay, now we need to talk about something really important. These online actions, they can have very real, very serious legal consequences. This is not some lawless digital Wild West.
And what's so interesting is how the law defines harm here. See, we're not just talking about being annoyed or having a bad day. The legal standard for emotional distress means a significant psychological impact that goes way beyond the normal stress of day-to-day life.
Let's take a look at this table. We're using Missouri law as an example, but it shows you just how seriously doxing can be treated. You see, it might start as a misdemeanor, but man, it escalates fast. If the victim is a law enforcement officer, it can become a felony with years in prison. And if the doxing leads to someone getting physically hurt, the penalty can climb even higher. This shows that there is a legal framework that takes online actions and their real-world outcomes very, very seriously. The law also draws a really clear line between 2 things, stalking and harassment. Stalking needs what's called a course of conduct, so at least 2 different acts that create a pattern. Harassment, on the other hand, can be just a single act. But here's the bottom line. Both of them can become felonies depending on how severe they are, like if a credible threat is made or if it causes that legally defined severe emotional distress.
And look, this isn't just some weird law in Missouri. The big takeaway here is that almost half of all states have similar anti-cyberstalking and harassment laws on the books. What this means for you is that there are real legal protections and options for adult victims all across the country.
So, while protecting yourself is step one, creating a healthier online world, well, that's on all of us. It's a shared responsibility, and it means we also have to talk about this behavior at its source.
And, for anyone listening who might see a little of their own behavior in what we've talked about, it's important to understand that a lot of times this aggression comes from a place of personal pain, whether it's anger, loneliness, or past trauma. The path to changing that behavior really starts with self-reflection and getting support, whether that's through therapy or just finding more constructive ways to deal with those feelings. All right, so let's wrap this up with your key takeaways. Think of this as your personal checklist for safety and for taking back control. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. We all get why we put locks on our doors, right? It's just common sense. As our lives move more and more online, building those emotional and digital boundaries to protect ourselves, well, it's not just a nice idea anymore. It's an absolute necessity.